Hi, it's Shelley with Strategic Sales Advisors, and welcome back to my channel, Building Sustainable Sales. This year I'm sharing actionable strategies to help business owners enhance their sales processes, their strategies, their teams, and their systems to drive sustainable growth. And today we're exploring common sales methodologies, what they are, how they work, and more importantly, how to choose the right one for your business. So whether you're leading a B2B or B2C sales team, there's a methodology that can help you sell smarter, not harder. So let's dive in. So first, let's talk about what are sales methodologies. Well, sales methodologies are structured approaches to selling that guide how you and your team interact with prospects throughout the sales process. They're not a one-size-fits-all. They're truly built as frameworks that help you tailor your approach based upon your industry, your product, and your customers' needs. Choosing the right methodology can improve your team's efficiency, can boost your close rates, and it can create a better experience for your clients and your sales team as well. So let's break down 4 of the most popular methodologies. Now, this is by no means a comprehensive list. This is 4 that I have seen the most of, especially lately with clients and customers out there. You may be using a different one, but I want to talk about these 4 in a little bit more depth. And the first one I want to talk about is spin selling. So spin stands for situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. And you want to utilize questions around these 4 areas to uncover and address a prospect's challenges. So with spin selling, what industries would really benefit from this type of a selling methodology? Well, industries that have a very complex, high value deal structure, like software or financial services, or in some spaces consulting, would benefit potentially from using the spin methodology. So let's give a good example. A software as a service company selling enterprise solutions can use spin selling to uncover how inefficiencies in their prospect's current process are costing time and money. It's a great way to utilize that methodology to then get to that sale. The next one I want to talk about, and I think this one is one we're seeing more of lately, and that's the challenger sale. Now, the challenger encourages salespeople to teach, tailor, and really take control of the sales process. This is very much about understanding and educating a consumer on not only their product or service, but then also on maybe potentially the challenge itself, right? So this is really great for businesses that are selling innovation or disruptive products that require that education and differentiation. So a great example would be potentially the renewable energy, a company in the renewable energy space. They can use the challenger sale to not only explain the long-term benefits of adopting solar technology, for example, over traditional energy, but can really tell the story of solar technology and the challenges that you face without it. Third would be solution selling. And this is the one I see the most of that businesses use. And solution selling is focused on identifying a client's pain points and then presenting a solution tailored to their needs. Again, now you see why this is probably the most, especially in B2B space, the most common selling methodology. It's identifying those pain points and then presenting them with a solution to fix it. This is really best for industries where product and services can be customized. So things like healthcare or professional services. If you've ever worked with a CPA or a lawyer or that type of thing, they're probably going to be doing solution selling in some way, shape, or form. In fact, I probably use solution selling the most out of any of these different methodologies, simply because what I do for clients and customers is very, very customized. So again, a great example, a consulting firm can use solution selling to design a really personalized growth strategy for a mid-sized business. That would be what I would do. And last on this sort of top 4 list is then inbound selling. And inbound selling really centers on attracting prospects through content and nurturing them until they're ready to buy. This is heavily driven from marketing efforts and that type of business opportunity. Inbound sales typically, salespeople typically sit within the company or organization. They don't do a lot of proactive outbound networking, prospecting, that type of stuff. It's really warm leads coming in through the nurture cycle, and then your sales team really taking it from that aspect and then pushing it through to conversion. And we really see this in companies that have a very strong online presence, digital marketing, tech startups potentially, even to a lesser extent on the e-commerce side. especially if there is a need from a sales closure rate for sales in that space. So a great example here would be a digital marketing agency using inbound selling to engage their prospects through blogs, through webinars, email campaigns, social media, through converting them down into clients. And it's funny that we use this example because I will tell you that with most of the marketing agencies or digital marketing space that I have worked in, that most of them are excellent at doing this for their customers, but they are not very good at doing this for themselves and driving that inbound business to themselves for their business. So I frankly would like to see a little bit more inbound selling on the marketing side of things. So those are my top 4 that I see the most, but there's lots of other ones out there. So let's talk about a few more. The first one I want to just mention is MEDDIC, MEDDIC, and that stands for metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, identify the pain, and then champion. And this is really designed and built for companies or organizations that have a very complex B2B sales cycle. So think manufacturing with large multi-million-dollar equipment purchase, or construction companies where there are multiple decision makers, that type of thing. MEDDIC can work really well in that space. Next, we have SNAP. SNAP selling stands for simple, invaluable, aligned, and priority. And SNAP selling methodology is really great for very fast-paced sales. This is where environments where decision makers are busy and they need a really quick, straightforward solutions to their problems. Think about it. Simple, your solution is invaluable, it's aligned with what they need, and it's a high priority to fix. If you can find those types of clients for your business, Snap selling is going to work really well for that. I think about this from a perspective of, if you think about phone sales, we need a phone. It's an invaluable service. We pick the type that we want. It's aligned with what we want, and it's a high priority. And so typically when you walk into a phone company, an AT&T, a Verizon, a T-Mobile, any of those types of things, and you're looking to buy a phone, you're going to walk out with a phone. It's a pretty simplified sales process. And then another one that I wanted to mention is Sandler selling. And Sandler selling, if you think about it, is focused very much on building trust and really qualifying prospects very thoroughly before diving into the sale. And this is another one that's really great for things like professional services or any business where you are building a very long-term relationship with that client or customer, right? When they have a really long experience with you. It's not a short, they purchase from you and they walk away. When you have a long relationship with a client, maybe it's multiple months or up to a year or more where you are interacting with them. And that's why you see it a lot in professional services, things like CPA services or fractional leadership type things. When you're building that, you want to establish that trust from the beginning before you even get down into the sales side of things. And so that's where Sandler selling, I feel, is very, very beneficial and is a great way to engage with your customer. So I've talked about the 4 common and then 3 additional ones that I've seen out there or where they could fit in for some of the different areas. So we know what methodologies are out there. So how do we choose the right one? And that really does depend upon things like your industry, your product, and your customer base, as I mentioned earlier. So let's talk a bit about the decision-making process here. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to assess our sales cycle. And we want to look at things like, if we have a very long sales cycle with multiple stakeholders, as I mentioned, that might be really good for MEDDIC or potentially Spin. So that long cycle is not going to be something where Snap, for example, is going to work. A long sales cycle with multiple stakeholders might also be a Sandler situation because you're building that trust through that long sales cycle through the multiple stakeholders. Again, but on the opposite side, as we've mentioned, really short cycles with quick decisions, that's a Snap, right? If that's the space that your sales cycle sits in, then maybe that's where that would fit. So we want to look at that. Next, we want to really understand what are our customers' needs. So do they need education about your product or service? Do they need education about the industry itself? Do they need education around the challenge that they're facing? They know they have a challenge, but they don't necessarily know what that challenge is. Well, challenger sales could be a really good fit there. If it's just an education site, it also could be potentially an inbound selling space. So where you're just pre-educating them on your product or service or how it fits their needs, and then so that when they come to you inbound wise, they're ready to make that decision or have that or go through that sales cycle. So you kind of have to look at it multiple different ways from the customer perspective. If they're clear about their pain points going forward, right? So they understand their pain points, but they need tailored solutions. Solution sellings might be a great fit. That's a lot of times where I run into things with my clients. They understand pain points and they understand that the challenges they're facing, they just don't know how to solve those challenges. And so they need me to come in and actually tailor something to fix those challenges for them. So once we've done both of those, then we want to match our methodology with our team's strengths. And if you are hiring, we want to match the strengths to the methodology. So whichever way, if you have an existing sales team in place, we want to match the methodology to them so that it works with them, with the customer's needs, and with the cycle length and the data that we have around that. If you are building your company and you have yet to hire sales team members, but you know what your customers' needs are and you know what your cycle length, for example, is, then maybe we want to hire people that have strengths to match the methodology that you want to go after. So two things there. But if we're going to match this to our team's strengths, we might want to understand things like if our team excels at relationship building, potentially we want to go down the path of Sandler selling, if that works in the other areas as well, or solution selling, right? So if those both fit the customer's needs, then maybe if we have a very relationship-driven team, then maybe that's the space that we want to go through. If our team members, our sales team members are great at delivering value through teaching, for example, maybe challenger sales is a way to go, right? But you want to make sure that all three of these areas, team strengths, customer needs, and your cycle, your sales cycle, all align with that methodology. So we want to take a look at all of those. So let's give it some additional examples of how sales methodologies may align with different types of industries. So let's go back to technology. So again, software as a service. Spin selling can actually help in that type of a sales cycle uncover how a customer's current tech stack, for example, isn't meeting their needs. So again, they're really uncovering those pain points and then presenting their solutions. In the healthcare space, if we think about us in the healthcare space, solution selling allows a healthcare provider to tailor solutions to patient care or to hospital management. So again, think about when you go to the doctor. Typically, we go to the doctor for one of two reasons. One, we're under the weather and we need to see a doctor, or two, we need to do an annual checkup. And each time we go to the doctor, there's something different that we are approaching them with. So there is no one single fit. So solution selling, listening to us and then providing us with the solutions, is what healthcare sales is about. When we think about manufacturing, I talked about this, in the manufacturing space, especially if you are dealing with large equipment, significant cost equipment that your clients would be purchasing from you, there's probably going to be multiple decision makers in that, right? You might have a head of operations that's saying, we need the equipment, here's how it's going to work. You might have a CEO, because of the size of that purchase, needing to sign off on things and make a decision. And you might have, HR involved, or an HR leader if there is significant team member training and things like that need to be implemented in order for that equipment to be run, right? So you might have multiple players in there. That's where MEDDIC really shines from a methodology aspect. Marketing agencies, mentioned this before. Inbound selling can help agencies really attract and convert leads through valuable content. They're creating the content about what their business does for others. And what's really unique in the marketing space, when they can do that really effectively, it's also a sales technique on that aspect of it, right? If they can showcase what type of marketing they can do just for their own company, that can engage other customers and consumers out there to say, hey, if they can do that for their own company, imagine what they could do for my company. And then finally, energy. I've mentioned this before. The challenger sale can really help companies in that energy space explain the benefits of new energy solutions over traditional methods. You might see that a lot in spaces in the energy where we see all of these new impactful things coming up. I also see the Challenger sale potentially right now being very effective in some of the technology space when we talk about AI or some of these emerging areas where, selling that type of a product into a company organization, really telling them what the benefits are for them, what it's going to drive for them, what performance it's going to be. Challenger sale is really great when it comes to sort of emerging space. So again, we've talked about a plethora of different methodologies. We understand them a little bit better. We kind of understand what types of industries they work for, what customer needs they approach, and then how they kind of engage with the sales cycle link. So once you've chosen one, how do we focus on that implementation side of things? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to train our team to that methodology. So we're going to provide workshops and courses to really familiarize the team on that framework and how to utilize that framework effectively in their day-to-day sales roles. So we want to focus in on that. Then next, we want to integrate the methodology into our CRM. Each methodology is going to come with different stages in its cycle. In that methodology cycle, it's going to morph into your sales cycle. So we want to make sure that our tools, our CRMs, are very aligned with that methodology so we can track the progress effectively through the different stages of it. And then we want to monitor and adjust. So we want to regularly review the results of that, putting that methodology into place to see if it is driving the results that we think it's going to out of our customers and into conversion. And then we want to refine that as needed, ensure that the team is continuously using it, that it is resonating with our clients as we expected it to, and if not, then we are pivoting to a different methodology that would resonate better. Let's just recap on sales methodologies. They are truly structured approaches that can guide your team's interactions with prospects, and where we see the most popular ones out there are things like spin, challenger, solution selling, and especially inbound selling. There are additional frameworks, and I have not even covered the most comprehensive list here, but other popular ones would be Medic and Sandler selling, and those kind of drive towards specific needs and sales cycles. And choosing the right methodology really does depend upon your industry, the sales cycle length, and the customer consumer base. And then I would add into then what's your team's strengths. When we implement all of these really effectively, though, that right framework can transform your sales process and efforts and deliver the results consistently that you're looking for. So I hope you found this video helpful. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insights. And let me know in the comments, which sales methodology do you really want to explore further? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Building Sustainable Sales. Bye for now.